Hello and welcome to this webinar on Romeo and Juliet. We're looking at Romeo in Act 2. We're looking at quotations that help us to understand his character and link with the themes that Shakespeare presents throughout the play, and also to analyse them using subject terminology. The first quotation in Act 2 is Act 2, Scene 2, where Romeo speaks with himself as he watches and waits for Juliet underneath her balcony. And he says this: "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she." So here we have Romeo. He is love-struck. He's urgent, he's passionate, he's infatuated, he's mesmerized. He's spoken to her and flirted with her and kissed Juliet. And then he's realized that she is a Capulet, and despite that, he's risked his own well-being and safety to invade and trespass on the property of the Capulets, and now he's waiting for just a little glance, a little peep of the sun that may arise. Now here we may understand, or a contemporary Shakespeare's audience would understand perhaps, this idea of killing someone who is your superior, because there were many plots to kill the monarch. Both Elizabeth I and James I were kind of skilled in undermining plots. So the idea that the sun would try and kill the moon perhaps is this idea of rivalry as monarchs and leaders. Now, the theme of rivalry, we can see that Shakespeare threads it throughout the whole of the play, from the beginning when the servants are fighting in the streets to the end where Romeo kills Paris because he sees him as a rival at Juliet's tomb. Now, when we're thinking about subject terminology, we can see that this again is written in iambic pentameter. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. This is serious and noble, written in this beautiful rhythm that reflects the heartbeat. And you can see these imperative verbs: arise, fair sun, kill the envious moon. It's showing that Juliet as the sun is dominant, she's powerful, and she can take over any celestial being in the sky. The hyperbolic adjectives of envious and sick and pale are really showing that the moon is inferior, and perhaps they're a reference to his earlier fascination, the woman that he was obsessed with at the beginning of the play, Rosaline. Perhaps it's this reference to her being sick and pale and envious, and Juliet being far more superior as his new object of adoration. The celestial imagery talking about the moon is also perhaps an allusion or a reference to Diana. She was the goddess of the moon and the goddess of chastity, which meant that you didn't touch or kiss someone with desire. So the fact that he wants to kill the moon shows that his desire, his lust, his passion, despite Juliet being an enemy, has been awoken. The final quotation that we look at is this one. Again, Act 2, Scene 2, a soliloquy. He says this: "Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head as a winged messenger of heaven, upon the upturned, white upturned, wandering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him." She has spoken. She's only said 2 words. She said, "Ah, me." It's her desire. You can see that she, like him, is brimming with desire. And now, instead of just being confident, he's overawed and perhaps overwhelmed by this. And the context is that of these supernatural messengers. People believed that angels were from heaven and they were from God. Now we can see this idea of devotion that Shakespeare threads throughout the whole of the play, from the beginning, where we see the devotion of the servants again to their households, to the end where his devotion takes him to death. Now, when we're thinking in terms of subject terminology, he says, "Speak again, bright angel, speak again, bright angel." He's desperate to hear her. So it's interesting that him as a Petrarchan lover, that means someone obsessed with someone who didn't love them back, was happy just to look. But here he wants to hear, he wants to talk, he wants that intimate connection that will complete him. The comparison as well, as a winged messenger of heaven, shows religious imagery, and that preposition, o'er my head, shows that she is a superior being. He's almost worshipping her. And then finally, the alliteration, white, upturned, wandering eyes, shows that his adoration is pure. I hope this has helped you to understand Romeo in Act 2. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time.